attention and affection which you show me. And please do know that you are constantly in my prayers, and that my love is the same with you as you have shown me, and my affection will always be with you. First of all, I believe that we should thank our two wonderful masters of ceremony for this evening, Petar and Ivana. One round of applause for them, please. Your Grace, beloved brother in Christ, Bishop Sebastianos of Zela of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese, Your Royal Highnesses, Prince Dusan and Princess Valerie of Serbia, Your Excellency, Honorable Consul General Mirjana Živković of Serbia to the United States of America, very reverend and reverend clergy, Madam Chairperson, beloved Zorka, the person who is most loved and adored by this community, and may you live and be with us for many years to come. Distinguished guests, representatives, ladies and gentlemen, children who put on such a remarkable program, as His Grace has already noted, brothers and sisters, one and all. As is known to you, I travel the length and the breadth of this country incessantly, I must say, and I also travel substantially in international circles. Everywhere I go, and without the slightest of exaggeration, the first question that comes out of everyone's mouth is, what is happening with the St. Sava Cathedral in New York City? You have captured the imagination and the hearts of the entire world, and I am not speaking about our Serbians only. I am speaking about everybody that I come into contact with. You simply cannot imagine the impact that the fire which consumed our church in the year 2016 on Easter Sunday has affected everybody within the Serbian community and without. And so everybody would like to know what is happening. What is happening? I chose in the last 2 years to read a poem which a young princess, now Queen Elizabeth II, gave her father to read in order to encourage their people in a war-torn England. And it was about taking the hand of God in order to walk into the darkness and out into the light. I feel that I no longer have to read that poem because light is already here and on the very forefront of our lives. If I could ask you for a moment to close, if not your physical eyes, the eyes of your imaginations. Close them as though you had gone to sleep, and now you waken in the morning and you open your eyes. You go to your breakfast table. It is the 12th of June, 1944, and you look at the New York Times, and what do you see as the headlines of that morning's edition of the New York Times? Serbians dedicate their cathedral in the city. Serbians dedicate their cathedral in the city. The headlines of the New York Times of June 12th, 1944, the day after the consecration of our magnificent cathedral church and the 75th anniversary of its original dedication as an Episcopalian church dedicated to the Holy Trinity. Zorka, you were there. That was Bog poživi. I would say now, may you live to be 100, but as I recall once standing at a crossroads with Patriarch Pavle, and somebody walked up to him and said, Koliko volim našeg patriarcha, da Bog poživi njega do 100 godina. And the patriarch, the man said, how much we love our Patriarch Pavle, may he live to be 100 years old, and at age 96. The patriarch looked at him and he said, Nije to neka naročita želja. It's not much of a wish. And so Zorka, we ask for many, many, many years to you, because we would like may we all live to see that day together with you when we will open up our eyes, waking in the morning, the day after the consecration of our newly refurbished St. Sava Cathedral, and once again read in the headlines of the New York Times and every major newspaper here in the United States of America and throughout the world, Serbians dedicate their cathedral in the city. Ako Bog da, we shall all live to see this day and see it together.
Let's go!
Where did the New York City community begin, and how did it begin? If you think that you cannot dream that which is impossible, let the humble beginnings of this community speak to your heart and speak otherwise. It was on May 6th, the feast day of St. George, in the year 1937, when a group of Serbians got together to celebrate their Slava. And they were so homesick for their own country, and yet there was not one Serbian church in the East Coast of the United States of America. And so they began to dream, one day we will have our church, we will have our community, and slowly, it began to take shape. Can you imagine when the original Trinity Chapel was projected, it was to have costed only $40,000. However, when it was completed, it cost $230,000, mostly because of the imported French Caen stone, which lined its magnificent interior walls. And at the time of sale, it was valued at over $1 million. There was a group of Russians who wanted to purchase the church when they heard it was for sale, a group of Greeks who wanted to purchase the church, and they offered very decent amounts of money. And the Serbs, they came there with this fledgling community, and they looked at the gentlemen who were in charge of the Episcopalian church that was about to be sold and said, we can only offer you $25,000. They looked at us and they said, can you at least make it $30,000 and we will leave the furniture and a full basement of coal for you. And so it was up to a remarkable man, the first of two men named Dusan, like our prince who is here with us this evening, Dusan Tripčević, known as Mr. Trip, who was a vice president of Chase Manhattan Bank. And when the Serbians could not collect the money, he turned to his friends in the baking industry and said, please help us. And so they put together $30,000 and decided that they were going to purchase the church. On March 1st in the year 1943, we assumed the title for the Trinity Chapel, come St. Sava Cathedral. This cathedral is of particular importance, and why was it that the Orthodox were so keen on purchasing this church? Because of the fact that the first Orthodox liturgy celebrated on the continental soil of the United States of America was celebrated in the church while it was an Episcopalian church in March of 1865, and at that time the New York Times also ran a headline, as it was to do so in 1944, this time stating a remarkable event took place. And they saw this as the beginnings of what they termed the Russo-Greco Church in the United States of America. And so that church became ours. The then rector, Dr. Frederick S. Fleming, stated the following and was quoted in the New York Times. The church would become a real center with religious, educational, and cultural contacts for the Serbian Orthodox faith. And indeed, we ask ourselves, yes, how true it was, how true it is, and how true it will be. And so now we must do something else. No longer can we simply close our eyes and wait to read the headlines of the New York Times, but to listen to the wise spiritual counsel of Saint Seraphim of Sarov. When the mind has a very difficult time accepting what the heart already knows, what do you do? He said, close your eyes, physically turn your head toward your heart. Look deep into your heart and do not open your eyes until you see a small flame dancing in the middle of your heart. Only then open your eyes and you will see that you are surrounded by the light of Jesus Christ. And so, as I have mentioned, we have taken the hand of Christ and we've walked out of the darkness and into the light. What has been done so far and what will be done? You heard Zorka mentioning much that happened up until now. Allow me to add some more to that by noting that we have finished phase 1, which consisted of what? Cleaning the church. When you consider that that cathedral church is 4 stories tall, there was debris from the basement almost to the top of the church. It had to be carefully cleaned by hand. No machinery could enter the church so that the walls would not be compromised. The walls had to be monitored constantly and are still being monitored. And so 3 months later, or slightly more, the church was cleaned of its debris. And I've learned one thing from our architect, Mr. Don Živković, whom I will introduce later. What he learned from one of his teachers, and that is, how can you recognize the magnificence of a building when it becomes a beautiful ruin? And so our church was a beautiful ruin. But we in Orthodoxy do not believe in memoricide. No, how can one kill memory? We believe in resurrection. And as Christ rose from the dead, so too our church is rising, because that fire could only purge and clean and did not destroy our church. That which was compromised by the fire was the inside Chayan walls of the church. Beautiful white limestone which was imported entirely from France. I was amazed at watching the workers taking apart that part of the church because there was no mortar whatsoever. It was simply stone fit superbly and perfectly against stone. And so with the slight movement of a crowbar, one block after the other came out. In the altar, where they had the traditional Anglican tracery, which is gold leaf with beautiful sienna outlines, the intensity of the fire actually pushed it in certain places into the stone, and I've asked to have some of those segments retained so that we can put them into an eventual museum. I believe that I mentioned to you last year that we found the most sacred part of the church last year. Our wonderful crew that was working there, I asked them for something utterly impossible. Could you find the relics for me? What are the relics? Oh, they are the sacred bones of the saints, of martyrs, which are sealed in the altar. What are we looking for? At best bet, a very small silver pillbox sealed in wax. They carefully cleaned under the sanctuary and found those relics. They were in a white marble consecration stone, and Akobogda, God willing, they will be resealed in our new altar table. A remarkable man by the name of Gregory headed up that group of people. He had an accident while working on our church. So I ask you, in your prayers, please remember him by name, Gregory. He's a good man, and he deserves all of our prayers because he saved the relics for us. And if you don't believe in miracles, there was also a magnificent silver icon of the Virgin Mary that was pulled out from the rubble, looking as though somebody took her brand new and put her there, because as the altar table collapsed, it was properly designed and built on 5 pillars. One of the pillars embedded into the ground, and the table top came down and shielded this icon. Perhaps you've read in the newspapers that the same thing happened recently in a church that burned in the southern states of America, where an icon of Christ was the only thing that survived that fire. And so miracles do happen. Phase 3, where are we today? You heard it mention the roof beams. I asked our architect, because they're not here yet, they're being produced in Canada, can you ask the foundry to send me photographs? And they did. And they are made. And they are ready and will be soon coming to be installed. So you will see cranes working to install these beautiful steel beams on our church so that finally St. Sava will have its roof. Another dimension which will stabilize the walls of our church. What are we going to do then? We are going to work on everything. The master plan has in essence been drafted, and I call your attention to this remarkable screen behind me, and you will understand what it is that we are trying to do with the interior of our cathedral. On the outside, because it is a national historical landmark, we are going to rebuild it as we must, faithfully the way that it was, to the detail. However, because Bishop Nikolai, who received this church from Bishop Manning, stated that it was the perfect synthesis of East and West. And we have many such examples in our Serbian Orthodox Church. So we will have on the inside an early Byzantine basilica-style church that will also have dimensions from the late Byzantine era in Mistras, before the Byzantine Empire was brought forcibly to a close. And by the way, the last emperor was half Greek and half Serbian. Constantine was the son of Helen Dragaš, a Serbian princess. And so you see the architecture that was fostered during his time will once again come to life in our cathedral. We will even have a cupola, a blind cupola inside there that will have reflected light from the outside. Of course, an icon screen will be put in here and so much more. We do have a lot of work to do. We must roll up our sleeves, and all of us, without exception, must work and work together. Father Givoin mentioned how absolutely important it is to do two things concurrently. One is to rebuild the physical structure of the church. The other is to rebuild the living church, you, my beloved. And so we are fortunate, as Zorka mentioned, to have Father Givoin, who is heading up the parish. He, like Father Dusan Shukletovic, the first priest of the New York City Cathedral, a brilliant man, the second Dusan of the two that I mentioned. Can you imagine having, on the one hand, a vice president of Chase Manhattan Bank as the president of your church? On the other hand, the priest is a Rhodes Scholar, an attorney by training, and an Oxford graduate. They could speak to the elite of New York City and the elite of the world, and speak they did. And so, in the heart of the greatest city in the world, New York City, we will see our church rise like a phoenix from its ashes and once again proclaim to the entire world that we have a Serbian Orthodox cathedral in Manhattan. That which we can accomplish, my beloved, is truly limitless. You only need one thing and nothing else. As Christ said, you need faith, but how much faith? He said, if you have the faith of a grain, like a mustard seed, you can say to a mountain, move, and it will move. And you will be able to do this, and we will do this together. We have many, many devoted and talented individuals who work non-stop on our cathedral. And I've already mentioned the Dean of the Cathedral, Father Živojin Jakovljević. But in our trusteeship, we also have a president, someone whom I grew up with in Cleveland, Ohio, Ms. Marija Mirković. We have our remarkable secretary, Zorka Milic. We have a member of the Board of Trustees, Ms. Tijana Anžić. And we have a remarkable expert business consultant, Mr. Živorad Tomic. I believe you operate 6 businesses, is it? So we're probably the smallest entity you must deal with, but we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for looking at us and for helping us. And then another remarkable person, an expert building consultant, engineer, Dr. Ivan Jelic. And as I told him, a little birdie informed me that he has been commissioned to oversee the expansion of JFK Airport, and also previously worked in Dubai, overseeing the building of the airport. Am I correct, or did I miss something, or should I have not said anything? I did, so Kasno, it's out there. But thank you very much, Ivan, for all of your dedication and the work that you do. We have a building committee, which again has as 2 of its members, Father Živojin, and our project executive, Mr. Don Živković, who is running this whole program as our executive. Chairman, who has asked me not to mention his name, who wants to work completely in the shadows. And members, Mr. Don Pogozarelski and Mr. Mark Chupkovic, who oversaw the rebuilding of the historical gazebo in the botanical gardens. So you can see we are in very good hands. Who's doing the work? We have a project team consisting of O'Donoghue Contracting, and we have with us this evening Pat and Jerry O'Donoghue, together with their staff and their families. Can you please rise? We have our wonderful consultants, Dawn Friedman and Shakana Lowell, who are structural engineers. Can you please rise and receive recognition? Charles Michel, our mechanical engineer. Are you here this evening? No, he was. Okay. Chris and Evan Slocum and their wives, Mary Alice and Lauren. Are you here to receive? Thank you. Our architect, Brian Connolly. Where would we be without an Irish man for an architect? And of course, as mentioned, our project executive together with his wife. Please welcome Christine and Don Živković. Also, as I had mentioned in my introductory remarks, among our VIP guests, we have His Grace Bishop Sebastianos Zella of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese, representing His Eminence Archbishop Dimitrios. Theophilestete. Σας καλωσορίζουμε και σας ευχαριστούμε για την παρουσία σας εκ μέρους των Σέρβων αδελφών σας, υποβάλλοντας σέβη και την αγάπη μας. Yes, thank you very much. Basically, I said how good we are as Serbs and Greeks brothers together, and we love them very much. And here, I must, and I would be entirely remiss if I did not ask the President and his wife and the faithful of Saint Eleftherios Greek Orthodox Church, our remarkable, selfless host, to please stand and receive our love. Without them, we would truly be homeless. Your Grace, please let His Eminence, the Archbishop, know how grateful we are to him for allowing us to feel at home in the Church of St. Eleftherios. We only have one problem now. We don't know how we are going to be able to part with each other when our cathedral is rebuilt. It will be very difficult. We will have to find one Sunday every so often to come together and serve and enjoy a fine cup of coffee. Thank you for your philoxenia, for your love, and for your hospitality. May God bless you and repay you endlessly, for our hearts are full of love for you and for what you have done for us. Živeli, Zito! We had with us this evening, but she had to leave because of other engagements, Her Royal Highness, Princess Maria Luisa of Kohari, from the Royal House of Bulgaria. She is the sister of Tsar Simeon of the Bulgarian nation, a remarkable woman, the first Orthodox Christian to be the head of the household of Kohari. And so we were very grateful for her presence, and we anticipate her being with us as often as she possibly can. Accompanying her was another remarkable woman, Mrs. Milena Cvijanović. Milena is an architect from Monaco, so any of you, if you want to build a house, if you want to have somebody design the interior of your next airplane, or design the interior of your yacht, please contact Milena, and she will be only too grateful to help you. Her cousin is also here with us this evening. Thank you for joining us as well.
Let's go, Bulgaria!
It is my distinct pleasure to introduce this evening a couple that is indeed very dear to my heart, That is, their Royal Highnesses, Prince Dusan and Princess Valerie Karađorđević, please rise and receive our accolades.
Let's go!
Prince Dusan is the son of the late Prince Alexander Pavlov, the son of Knez Pavle Karađorđević, and his mother is Her Royal Highness Princess Barbara of Liechtenstein. Please give our regards to your dear mother, and thank you so much for being with us this evening. Your presence has meant so very much to us. As mentioned earlier in my introductory remarks, we have Her Excellency the Honorable Mirjana Živković, Consul General of the Republic of Serbia to the United States of America, who already received accolades, but it's never enough. Thank you, Mirjana, for being with us. How comforting it is to know that the Church and State can and do work together. I have been asked to convey also the regards and the greetings of His Excellency Ambassador and Plenipotentiary of the Mission of Serbia to the United Nations, Milan Milanovic, who regrets that he could not be with us because of other engagements, but wants to know that his full support is with us, and we will thank him in absentia. And we also have with us, certainly neither last nor least, but a wonderful woman, Mrs. Vera Watkins, who is the president of the Church Board of the Saints Peter and Paul Serbian Orthodox Church in Atlanta, which I recently consecrated, and it was a marvelous event. She is the great benefactress of that church, and that church was built in under 1 year. Church, hall, school, offices, landscaping, everything. It was beyond belief, and it was a remarkable accomplishment. Vera, thank you so much for everything that you do for our church. She brought with her a full table from Atlanta, Georgia, and Your Grace, as you will now be going to Atlanta yourself, please do know that anytime you want to serve in my church, in our church, you are free to do so. Vera, receive His grace, be like one with us. Mi casa est su casa. And with that, I bring my, for me, rather brief marks to a conclusion on this evening. I was warned not to go overboard. The poor MCs, when they asked me, Your Grace, how long will you speak? And they're looking at minutes, and I simply have to shrug my shoulders and say, I have no idea. I begin, and where the Spirit moves me, and where the Spirit takes me, this is where I end, but now I will end. God bless you, and please do understand that there is not a day in my life since having returned here to the United States of America that I do not close my own eyes in prayer and see all of your radiant and beautiful faces, that I do not thank God for you. You are a gift to me like no other gift that anybody could ever give to me. And I am here in your service entirely. I am here to serve you, to give my life, if necessary, everything that I have about me, in order that you may prosper and that we will see together, ako Bog da, this cathedral restored and consecrated, and once again in the full service of the Lord. Živi bili najljubljeni, Bog vas blagoslovio, čuvao i štitio od ovog našeg večerašnjeg i radosnog susreta do onog konačnog i sveradosnog susreta u Hristovo carstvo nebesko. Neka bi svaki Božji blagoslov uvek obitavao sa vama i sa vašim cenjenim i milim i dragim porodicama. God bless you and God keep you well. Thank you for the joy of this evening, and may this joyous encounter be crowned with our final and all joyous encounter in the kingdom of heaven. Amen. God bless.